Hello, and welcome to reCapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you.
Delora, we are back with our Thursday episode. How you feeling? How you living?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, that's all I got,
Okay. It be like that sometimes. I feel it. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm happy to be here as well, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another episode of reCapping with Delora and Ashley. And it is our pop culture episode. So we are going to get into these streets and talk about some things. First up, we're going to talk about some weddings and some engagements. So Miss Normani is officially, I guess you could say she was off the market regardless, but I feel like an engagement makes it official. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She is officially off the market, engaged to her 3-year boo, DK Metcalf, who is an NFL wide receiver. And he announced the news in a press conference when he was also announcing a $150 million deal to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So win-win, baby. Win-win.
Right, exactly.
Said, baby, go ahead and hold up that engagement ring and show the people.
Shout out to a man who is excited about his engagement to his woman, and he's sharing it during a major moment in his career.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, win-win. And he learned from the best because this couple was brought together by Sierra and Russell Wilson. Okay, so I feel like they set the stage already for what the expectations were here.
Yeah, we talked about this several years ago when Sierra and Normani was somewhere in Europe shaking their ass. We were like, no, don't do it. But that was like one of the first times I realized that they were friendly. You know what I mean? Because again, they both can dance their asses off. So kudos to the ladies. But to know that Russell Wilson and Sierra were very intentional in bringing them together. This is so cute. This is so sweet. I am so happy for Normani. And I'm looking at Vogue. So he wanted to propose to her last year, but he didn't want it to interfere with her album release. I'm like, yes, sir. Let your woman thrive. Love it.
I wonder how she felt about that, though. She was like, boy, stop. You could have gone ahead and proposed to me.
No, but I respect it, though. You know what I mean?
I respect it, too. I just wonder what she said after she found out.
Of the dudes who propose on the girls' college graduation. Like, sir, this ain't about you, right?
A ring by spring. Isn't that a whole thing?
That is a whole thing. That is true, Ashley. The other thing that had me tickled is for the engagement, he referenced the movie, the cinematic classic, Joanna Man. Talking about what did it says? Vivica Fox's character said, it would just be nice to receive flowers on a Wednesday. So he proceeded to send her flowers on a Wednesday with a card leading up to their proposal. Oh, this is amazing. I love it. Love it.
See, that's some good inspo. Cinematic inspo is my favorite kind because I think every good idea has been in a movie at one point or another.
No movie is too small. When I tell you...
Well, Joanna Man is. I mean, Joanna Man is a cultural, like, you know,
staple.
Yeah, like a cultural deep cut I would say even more than a staple.
Well said. Yeah, kind of like the equivalent of like that Tia Tamara movie, when they're like Tamara's aged backwards. She's the grandma. What was the name of that freaking
Oh
movie?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And the one cutie she was
Cutie,
married to.
cutie.
Yeah, he's still fine too.
To this day, to this day.
So I had a question on this. I saw Lovey post, and if y'all don't know who Lovey
17
is,
again. 17
yes, I
again.
was thinking that, and I was like, I don't think that's right. Lovey, who, if you don't know who she is, she's a writer. She's, cultural critic to some extent. She's a creator, all the things. She had posted about the fact that she feels like this is the expectation now of some people of their married friends to like hook them up with great guys and what have you. And she was like, I don't have time. I got a lot of other things to do. I don't have time to be focused on trying to hook y'all up with somebody. Do you ever feel pressure being in a marriage, long time marriage, to try to hook up like single friends with people? Do you ever feel that pressure?
No, no, I think it has to happen organically. You know what I mean? I don't think there is a mandate, but I think it's also refreshing because they met because they knew somebody in the circle. Like that's very old school, right? Like he's been vetted, you know what I mean?
He's been vetted and approved.
You know what I mean? Someone in your community can vouch for his character, you know?
Big deal.
But yeah,
Don't have to get on the apps. Big deal.
listen. So with that being said, I don't feel any pressure, but if there's an opportunity where I got a good friend who's single and another good friend who's single, I'm like, we'll
Let
make it
me
work,
throw a
but
party. Let me throw a dinner party.
exactly.
See how the chips fall.
Agreed.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Well, speaking of, again, weddings and engagements, Meagan Good is now officially married to Jonathan Majors, it seems. Jonathan Majors popped up on the Sherry Shepherd show this week with a ring on his finger, saying that he and Meagan got married. His mother officiated the wedding, and that it might have been the happiest day of his life. This couple, came together seemingly at the end of 2023 amidst a lot of his, legal woes that he was going through at the time that, continue to follow him a bit to this day. But he is slowly returning back to acting. In this article I'm reading for the Los Angeles Times, he's about to have his major return, if probably already has happened at this point, that you guys are listening, of Magazine Dreams, a
Mm-hmm.
film that had made a debut back all the way in 2023 as well, but again, due to his legal scandal, had been shelved. So, it seems like the tides are turning in terms of public image and perception a little bit about Jonathan Majors. But what were your thoughts about still this relationship and now them being officially husband and wife?
I do feel like they have been able to, turn the ship, steer the ship in a different direction overall, at least within the Black community, looking at like the Shade Room and the Jasmine brand, so on and so forth. It didn't help that Rolling Stone came out with a recording of Jonathan admitting abuse of his ex-girlfriend. I think it's convenient. Like, who was waiting for this shot? Like, this shot seemed very intentional because, for the most part, I believed all his wrongdoings in his last relationship and the court case was settled. But again, he was getting positive, critically acclaim for his work in this latest movie. He even got a freaking cover for the Hollywood
Yes.
Reporter, which is
Yep.
major.
Mm-hmm.
So for that to come out and then him to then counter that by announcing this wedding, you know, he said it was always planned to go down the way it did. I just hope it wasn't strategic as well of like, let's drown out this other conversation and focus on my movie and now my marriage to the Meagan Good. But I think we said this last time, especially during their engagement. If she like it, I love it.
Sure. I looked at the comments under the postings about the new recording coming out, and public sentiment didn't feel like it had shifted based on the comments, right? It was like, oh, haven't we already gone through this? Isn't this already settled? Isn't this already done? So I'm not thinking it's necessarily going to make the dent that maybe even Rolling Stone was expecting at this point. Don't know if that's a good thing though, but again, people, the tides certainly seem to be shifting. And sure, if Megan Good likes it, I love it. I don't know. I'm still concerned. If I'm honest, I'm
Listen,
still concerned, but
and
it's
I
not
think
my
it's
life.
valid for
Yeah,
sure.
it's not my life. So,
That
okay.
and we have a convicted felon in the White House. Like, there are bigger fish to fry here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not at the forefront of my consciousness on any day, but we have to talk about it because that's what we do. So,
Absolutely.
you guys, let us know what you think. I'm hoping Megan stays on the good foot, keeps it together in her life, career, and marriage, and anything else she chooses to do. So, all right,
Hoocha.
let's move on to Cassie. Cassie is preggers, but she just announced the sex of the baby in a birthday tribute to her husband. I love that his name is Alex Fine, by the way, because he is
Yes,
fine.
truly. No lies told. And I
Yes.
love that he like is handsome in all iterations. Long hair, short hair,
Yeah.
beard, no beard.
Yeah. He's a truly good looking man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She announced on his birthday tribute post that she is pregnant with a baby boy. So they already have two daughters. So this is their third child, and he now gets to be a boy dad. Very, very cute, very sweet. And I am just, again, happy to see Cassie living hopefully her best life given everything that she went through previously. I don't know how much you guys remember us talking about Cassie previously when all the Diddy stuff popped up, but it's been a lot. If you have not been following, guys, it's been a lot. And so I'm rooting for her.
Always.
Rooting for her.
Congratulations.
Absolutely. Last up for headlines today, Tracy Morgan had a very unexpected health scare at the Knicks Heat game recently. And from the video I saw, he's on the sidelines of the game and he gets sick on the sidelines, as well as looking like potentially some type of nosebleed or something like that that was going on as well. So he gets escorted out of the game. And he recently on Tuesday posted an update on Instagram from his hospital bed saying that they're saying that it was food poisoning and that he's fine. He appreciates, people reaching out and taking the time, and also the doctors and all those folks for taking care of him. For some reason in my heart, I don't believe this. Like I hope it's actually just food poisoning, but I don't know why it doesn't feel true.
Hear you because it's odd, right? Something like that happening because I think it's interesting because he's high profile. So I'm sure if there was just a regular person on the sidelines, it'd be different. But after his major accident,
Yeah, that's what it is, I think. I'm generally concerned for him after that.
you wonder if he's susceptible, to something, or could this be part of the aftermath, right? But it's been years. But well, some things just definitely stick with you after something as major as his particular accident. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hear what you're saying, Ashley. I'm glad he's doing okay. I was looking at the AP, the little nuggets that I got from this article that I thought was interesting is that he's a lifelong Knicks fan. So him being on the sidelines is not new. And he said that they took care of him, which I'm
Hmm.
glad to hear. And I think one of the most random things is he's in an untitled comedy pilot opposite Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, I have up the same article. I mean, I'm sure that's actually going to be. entertaining to watch. I mean, I always find him entertaining. Even from his, hospital bed saying, "Oh, this helped the Knicks win, so maybe I have to do this again for the playoffs." Like,
Sounds like a true fan,
and a comedian, because what are we saying?
Well, true fan at that. They are some superstitious people. Okay.
Oh yeah, sports fans, absolutely. Sports fans, absolutely. But I want him to be fine. I hope he's fine. Me casting doubt on what he's saying is not meaning I want to be in his business, or if there is more going on, I want to know. That is completely up to him. But I just was like, food poisoning? I don't know. Okay. I'm hoping you're okay, and positive thoughts and energy your way.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to our hot topics. First one up is this conversation around a former member of En Vogue who
Yep.
is now living in her car. We have the video that was posted by Don Robinson a couple weeks ago, earlier in March. And she basically revealed her living situation, that she's been living out of her car for 3 years. She said, it was a bit of a relief to get this out, essentially. She explained kind of how her journey to living in her car happened, that she was living with her parents in Vegas back in 2020. She decided to move out. She relocated to LA upon her manager's suggestion. I'm looking at an article from People, and
Mm-hmm.
that the manager proposed that she could stay, but then that didn't work out. So then she was in a hotel for 8 months. And then it became difficult to find an apartment. Her manager was playing games with her. So she just felt like she had to get out of that situation. And so she started looking into car life and loved what she saw and took the leap to live in that environment herself. She says she feels free. She feels like it was like being on a camping trip. It felt like the right thing to do, and that she was not sharing this and putting this out there to receive pity. She also revealed that her dog had recently passed away, so she felt like she was really, on her own at this point. And there was a lot of things, comments people had to say. Her ex-husband came out and, said, "Oh, had I known this, I'm offering you a job, I'm offering you some help." I saw Jermaine Dupri recently weighed in on this as well. And I also want to say that I think one of the reasons why this is shocking is because, En Vogue was a successful R&B group, right? I mean, they were
They were
Grammy nominated
huge, huge.
in the 90s. So, to have someone of that caliber now saying that don't have the financial means necessarily to live elsewhere was very shocking. But I think because of the way that she portrayed it in the video, it did feel like it could also be a choice. Some people do the van life, right? They
That
rehab a
is
van.
what Jermaine Dupri kept emphasizing. Like,
Yeah.
she said she made the choice. She made the choice. And I'm like, okay.
But caveat for me with what Jermaine is saying is, if I were in his position, I probably would reach out to find out. Like, we are just regular people. We can't reach out to Don and say, "Hey Don, heard
Exactly.
about your situation. Are you good? Is this really what you want? Or, would you like to possibly explore some other opportunities?" I say that is just like, I hope that, she is making the best of this situation, because some people do choose to rehab vans and go the van life and do all these different things. I don't know exactly what her setup looks like, right? How much space she has, what
Right.
she does for bathroom, all these things. But if I
I've even
were a
seen people.
Jermaine, if I were somebody like that, I would reach out.
Yeah. I've even seen on social media people making trailers into quote unquote mansions, like multi-bedroom,
Yeah.
dated kitchen, and it's all,
Well, tiny homes, I mean,
propped
tiny home
up.
nation is a
Yeah.
huge thing now.
I do feel like this is still part of a larger conversation of the state of living in America when it comes to how expensive it is to rent and how expensive it is to own a house, and how, corporations are buying up properties and driving prices up. I
especially on the West Coast. The
yes.
homelessness situation in LA is atrocious.
Yes. The cost of living is just it's above me now, you know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
um but
It's
I think it's
crazy.
interesting because Slim Thug of all people, I saw him on the Shade Room talking about somebody didn't set up their money right because he's like, I still get a check, and they had more hits than he did.
But see, this is the one of the larger conversations too about the ways that people were done in these recording deals back in the
Yes.
day. I mean, TLC is one of the
Yes.
biggest examples of that,
Correct.
and how
Yep.
they were bankrupt when they had hit after hit after hit. Waterfalls is a smash,
To this day.
and they were bankrupt, right?
Yep.
And that is a issue in my mind in general about like folks who reach this level of success, especially black artists and things, and then are not able to take care of themselves or not able to pay their bills, all these things. And that is hurtful to me to see. Now, I was with her husband on his offer, and then I saw him wearing that MAGA hat, and I was like, guess not. Guess not.
And she's a prime
Never
example. I've heard
mind.
people say this for many, many years. It's like you do not know the circumstances of people who are homeless,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They no longer have family as an option or, income. There's a myriad of reasons. And I think in some ways she really put things in focus by sharing this truth.
Yeah. And she does say, I miss my family. I miss everyone I was connected to, but I needed to do this alone. I needed to do this for me. And part of that, I wonder, has to do with some of the way she was treated and handled in the industry.
Yes.
Because when you are manipulated and you are taken
Yep.
advantage of, you don't want to be shackled to anybody who may try to do that to you again.
Yeah. And then, like in her case with family, what if they were using her as the ATM and that could have strained relationships? Like,
Yep.
that's so true.
Mm-hmm. After, hearing about this story, after seeing again commentary about it, I just hope that she is doing whatever is in her best interest genuinely, and that she's able to proceed in whatever way she wants to. If this garners opportunities for her again, great. I'm super happy for her. Hey, En Vogue, go ahead and get back together, baby. Go ahead and do what the SWVs and some of these other girl groups have done
Right.
to, continue to tour and do whatever they want. Candy
That's
Burris,
why that's
call
why it's
her,
like
get her on the
y'all
tour.
people are so hard on these singers. It's like not everybody's a Mariah Carey. Not everybody's, Mariah
Yeah.
got her money together because she published everything. You know what I mean?
And she's Mariah Carey. That's a
And well,
hard
of
one.
course, but I'm just throwing it out there. We
Yeah,
have
I
our
get what you're saying.
superstar. Even
Yes.
Whitney Houston had money issues, and
And her
she's
own
the
daddy
voice.
was one of the biggest reasons why, sadly,
Exactly.
talk about
She
family
is
ties.
the voice, and she ran into some issues herself. So you just never know.
No.
Um,
You got labels who try to screw you. You had the princes and
yes,
those who were fighting to get their publishing
yes.
rights. I mean, again, it is a big conversation in terms of how these artists are treated and how they are compensated.
And I'm still waiting for the music industry to get their upcomings. I mean, it started with R. Kelly, now it's Diddy, but it seems slower compared to how, Hollywood and the Me Too movement. So
Yeah, we'll see. But Dawn, wishing you the very best.
yes.
All right, our final hot topic is this whole Breakfast Club family meeting, as Rachel
Girl.
Lindsay once called it, on a Higher Learning episode where her and Van had to hash some things out. I don't even listen or watch The Breakfast Club like I used to. So I was not really
Yes.
deeply involved in like Jess's feelings about things and kind of how things have been maneuvered when she went on maternity leave and Lauren was brought in. And then when Jess returned, her feeling like Lauren was stepping on her toes with having the segment Jess with the mess, like leading that segment essentially.
Yeah.
So let me give you guys a little bit more background for those who may not be in the loop and been paying attention to this. The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne, DJ Envy, Jess Hilarious took the spot of longtime additional co-host Angela Yee, right? And so this was in early 2024 that Jess joined, and then she went on maternity leave last summer, and she picked Lauren LaRosa, a former TMZ news producer, to fill in for her segment Jess with the Mess. When Jess returned to the show in November, Lauren stayed on as an on air personality and began hosting that segment. So, Jess's main issue was that it felt like Lauren was kind of pushed into her slot and was playing a pivotal role that she didn't really feel like she should be playing in the dynamics of the show. This was exacerbated by online chatter. A lot of people have a lot to say about Jess. People thinking she's not that funny. People thinking she only got this job because of her social media presence. Even Corey Holcomb recently decided to, throw his 2 cents in the ring and have something to say about it. And so this culminated in Jess and company having a bit of a come to Jesus family meeting on air because Jess had even, I guess, told Lauren at one point to shut up and hush. She feels like she overtalks her, you know. So
Yep.
from the clips I saw, because I did not do a super deep dive, but from the clips I saw, Jess is saying her piece, saying how she feels. Lauren is saying, hey, I hear you. Your feelings are valid, but we are two women trying to figure this out. I don't want us to be having to fight for airtime. I want us to handle this professionally and be able to figure it out and move forward. You got Charlemagne over here, like, stay out the comments. Why are we even listening to what other people have to say? Y'all should be fine. It's all good. And then Envy being a little bit of a voice of reason as well. I'm not sure why this had to be done on air, but here we are. So, Delora, what were your thoughts about, first of all, Jess's overall grievance and then how this was handled being aired live versus being a behind closed doors situation?
I think it's really interesting. I know last week I was like, pop culture has just been real quiet. But this week I feel like everybody is sharing their grievances on live. You got Jess, you got Tiana Taylor, you got Money Long defending her Mariah tribute. I'm like, y'all, you can just keep it to yourself. I think this Jess situation is multi-layered. I don't think she should have aired her grievances on social media the way she did, but she is also an influencer. So it kind of trends, right? This is what happens when you get an influencer who has now a regular paycheck, right? It is a tricky situation when you bring someone in during your maternity leave. Like your worst fear is that someone is going to do your job, do it better than you, and the company is going to get rid of you.
Yep.
That's a valid concern. I almost want to say great job just for picking the right person, right? You did it too well. You did it too well. I think it reminds me of Wendy Williams. Before she was ill, she never had a replacement. And I think that was part of her philosophy. Like, you ain't gonna get nobody that's gonna upstage me. So there's some people who wouldn't even have done it, you know? I do feel like the way Jess treats Lauren, is that her name?
Yes.
Telling another grown woman to shut up is ridiculously inappropriate to me. I would
She
never
said, my
dream
mama don't even tell me to shut up, Jess.
that part, because I understand that story very well.
Yeah, it was
I
disrespectful. Flat
very.
out disrespectful.
And just is like, oh, even my kids know. Well, I'm not saying I'm talking about her parenting, but no, we don't do that here. I think this is great for the show
Agreed.
because They are getting a lot of eyeballs. People are going to be interested in their dynamic moving
Yep.
forward.
Yep.
I think that's the reason why they decided to have it on air. I feel like Envy and Charlemagne were gaslighting just a little bit as well, because you cannot tell me her concerns aren't valid. You know what I mean? Like, and they obviously weren't having the conversation. If they were, she wouldn't have gone on live. And then there's the dynamic of, again, it's already two women, two Black women. I need for us to be more harmonious than that.
Yes.
Y'all are representing.
That's my frustration with it. Like, to your point, I 1,000% agree that this is good for the show. Like, because we're talking about it again. I had not even been paying attention to the Breakfast Club, and I was like, oh wait, oh shit.
Yep. I
What's
used
going
to
on?
be an avid watcher back in the day, especially when they were building, right? And then I didn't like Angela Yee. I felt like she never spoke about her life. Like, she always dig into other people's lives. Like, she was an instigator.
Mm.
I didn't like that. And then when it came to speaking up for women, she just conveniently never said anything, in my personal opinion.
Mm. I didn't have any issues with Angela, but I could see that a little bit in terms of probably not being as open as maybe Charlemagne and MVR about certain things. But my biggest sadness with this is the idea that I bet they're like, see, this is why we could never have two women on the show. This is why we had two dudes and one woman, because y'all don't know how to get along. Y'all don't know how to make this work. And I don't want that to be the narrative. I think it is the way that things went down, where Jess thought she was going to get hired, be the new Angela Yee, third party to the Breakfast Club, and now it's a 4-person show. And that she just did not know that that's how things were going to go. And she was frustrated with that. And then to give a segment called Jess with the Mess to somebody who is not Jess.
Yeah.
That would be
and
upsetting.
Of course, Lauren has the experience. And does Lauren do a better job? She has, especially when it came to some of these court cases. Again, I feel like this is what happens when you get an influencer.
Well, and it's also the difference between someone who's an entertainer, and a journalist, right? Yes. Journalists gonna give you the facts, are going to have sources to cite, whereas Jess probably rolls up to set, does a little quick,
gonna pop off today,
1-2 on social media, and is like, okay, this is what we talking about. Cool.
Yep.
Cool. And that's fine. Like, I think there can be ways to go about it. I almost wonder if it's a little bit like, remember the drama when you had the shakeup over at Live with Kelly and Michael, and Kelly felt like what happened, it's not that she was upset that Michael was leaving, it's that nobody told her what was really good. And she's like, this is my show.
Yes.
How can you not tell me what's good on my show? So I feel like it's some of that, and I don't like the idea that it's just like, oh, two women are fighting. That's not what it is. To your point, she went on maternity leave. She had a baby. She was fresh and new to this show. She thought she was the third member of this trio, and now it's a square.
Yeah. Thank God their names weren't on it.
Yeah, and to me, that's a failure of leadership behind the scenes more than it is
1,000%
on the mics.
Communication is key, and they obviously didn't take the time to get everybody updated.
I hope they get this figured out. I think the Breakfast Club is still an important cultural staple.
Yes,
in
I'm
entertainment.
It's still going.
I mean, I think because they have a platform that, and to be fair, podcasting is such that this almost feels in that same vein. I know they still have stations they air on radio.
Yes.
But you can watch them on YouTube. You can watch the clips. Like it feels in the same vein as podcasts. So
yes.
To me, that makes sense. Am I
that's what made
turning
them popular.
To a radio station?
They had the long form interviews. Yeah.
Yes. So I hope they get it figured out. Whether it's with Jess, whether it's with Lauren, whether it's with both of them, whether it's with some new faces. I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess my last question is, do you think Jess is setting herself up for potential blowback professionally because she chose to do this so publicly?
What was the last thing you said?
Do you think that Jess is setting herself up for any professional blowback because she chose to do this so publicly?
That's a great question. Because again, clips of that actual conversation wasn't looking that great. But I think she'll be okay. I think this will blow over. I know we talked about it from a podcast we both enjoy, Higher Learning. They had one of these episodes early on, and that was a rough, and everybody was like, no, we didn't like it. Don't do
It was
that again.
uncomfortable
It
for
was very
sure.
uncomfortable because, again, they were very open about their triggers, and you don't expect that when you listen to their podcast, right? It's like,
Especially the version that we get now because they are so cool.
yes.
But I was going to say, I thought it was interesting too because I remember Rachel was the instigator of that desire to do that. And she said, this comes from like what I do with my family. And I was thinking, like, girl, I've never done that. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe we need to start having some family meetings when there are
She's also a
issues.
litigator and her dad is a judge.
Yeah,
So
they probably
she
sat at the dinner table and was like,
and
"Don't, we're
have
not
these
getting up
difficult
till we hash this out."
conversations.
Right? Whereas most families be like, "All right, I'm
Honestly,
good.
I
You
would
good?"
rather hash it out. I call a thing a thing. I'm very much that way.
But you think
So,
about it, sometimes that does not on both sides of the equation of a situation. And
mhm.
then a lot of times it's also not friendly conversation. Like it's not like let's sit down and talk about this calmly. It's usually once someone is like really pissed. It's like, all right, let me go ahead and get this off my chest because
Yeah.
now I'm pissed. So
But I still see value, especially if everybody has times to have their points together. It's like, let's go ahead and have this conversation.
sometimes you
Um,
need a little therapy mediation in those, but God bless them.
yeah,
I hope they figure this out is really the last thing. And I hope this does not hurt Justice's career because I think people get grace for way worse.
girl.
Okay.
I mean, we just talked about freaking Jonathan Majors. So
Exactly.
yeah, I am right there with you.
All right. Well, that's all we have for today for headlines and hot topics, Delora. What are we recapping for the people next week?
We are continuing our Women's History Month, and we're doing a fun rom com. It's written and produced and directed by women. It's new to Prime. It's called Picture This, starring the beautiful Simone Ashley.
AKA Kate Sharma from
Shout out
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton. Exactly.
All right. Well, guys, come back for that recap. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Listening to this episode, we appreciate you. We love you guys. Please share this with everybody you know so we can get more listeners on a regular basis to Recap Nation.
Yes.
We will be back, but in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.